Hello, everybody. My name is Lewis Lee, and this is Playing in Traffic. We do this every Thursday night, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, and this is for the car enthusiasts. Did I say that right?
Close enough.
Close enough. But we talk about cars, boats, trucks, and everything you put gas in. What's up, Ray?
Okay, Lewis. Yeah, if it's got a motor and if it's got internal combustion, we're there.
We're there. Even if we know what we're talking about or not, we still talk about it.
Oh yeah, we'll lie about it. Don't matter.
So tonight I was looking at my truck, and I was like, we should talk about rust buckets because I got two of them.
We all
Three.
do.
Actually, I got three. Here in Ohio, man, the rust is like it's like paint on most cars around Ohio.
You know, Ohio, same as New York. We're in the Rust Belt. We're in the eastern end of the Rust Belt, and yeah, I mean, I can remember. Case in point, I bought my Pontiac in 1975. It's a 1965, and it already had a little bit of rust down low in the quarters. It was common for 10-year-old cars back then to have rust.
Yeah.
Because we drove them in the rain and the snow and we have salt, of course. That's what really does it.
Yeah. And they came out with that new chemical too that they spray on the ground.
Brine.
I think I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's pretty bad on cars.
It's brine. And what brine is a salt mixture. Like a brine fish tank would be like not fresh water, not salt water. It's kind of like half and half.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a brine mixture that they and you can tell because you see the stripes in the road. You can tell because it'll dry.
Yeah.
And then what it does is it stops the ice from forming. It's like if you put ice melt down and then you get freezing rain, a lot of times the freezing rain won't stick because you have the ice melt down there. But yeah, that's brine. Same thing here. So
and it's a devil to work with too, man. I mean, you start cutting, and before you know it, you're halfway up a fender or door.
It's everywhere. I was showing the guy. We brought the Mustang into the shop to work on. Now I'm going to call it the Mudstang because this car was sitting in like I guess Alabama mud, and no one ever pressure washed the bottom of it. They did some work. They did panel repair, but no one ever pressure washed it. So I'm going to call it the Mudstang. But I was showing him pictures of one of the other ones I worked on that did look really nice and had been well painted, and I had to take I was putting a brake hose on, and sometimes the hoses and the brackets are a little funky the way they line up. So I found it easier to take the one bolt out, take the bracket off the chassis, put the hose into the bracket, and then reinstall the bracket. So when I did that, what I saw on the back of the black bracket and the chassis, the spot where it was just solid rust. So he said to me, wow, that means, I said, yeah, that means they just painted over this bracket, and what you're seeing underneath it is probably what else they were painting over too, but you just don't see that.
Yep.
The guys always miss something. And, it's, he was kind of, he isn't really in the car game, so he hasn't really seen that before. And it kind of horrified him a little bit. He was very taken back. And I said, yeah, dude, that's the way it is. So, you got to, just because you're seeing something doesn't mean that it's that way through and through.
Right.
I'll see. I think I may have a picture of that. I can show it to you.
Well, I've seen, I've ran across things where you're scared to touch it. Like it might be a little rusty, but you start messing with it and then it causes a whole nother problem. So sometimes you got to leave it.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, you're better off just leaving it alone. Let's see. But because then you don't know what the hell you're getting yourself into at that point.
Yeah. On my bus, I just behind the wheel wells, I tore the floor up and I seen a little space that was rotted out. I was like, okay, well, I'm glad I seen that now. I couldn't see it from under the bus, but I could see it when I took the floor out on the inside. It had plywood on top of the metal floor. So I started picking at it, and before I knew it, I had to cut all the way across to the other side of the bus. I put a panel in from the wheel wells, probably 2 feet back, all the way across.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, because it was rotted pretty good. Because that's where the mud, the water would slip up on the mud flaps and up onto that part of the floor.
Yeah, once you start going, that's it.
Yep. So I put a new brace in all the way across, and braces going down, they were rotted. but the rest, I mean, the rest of it has surface rust on it, but that spot was real bad because that's where all the water from the tires were hitting.
That's what I explained to this guy, where I said, once you start on a car, and you may have a fairly accurate budget in mind. I said, you don't know where you're going to end up. You have no idea until you start taking things apart. And I was showing him just doing stupid little things, how other stupid little things just have to be changed. I said, it's monumental. It's logarithmic the way it stacks up. And he was like, man, I didn't think it would be that bad. I'm like, yeah, well, guess what? It is.
Yeah.
So,
here's a comment in the chat. And that makes sense though, being close to the ocean.
I grew up in a town that was right on the water, and I remember down by the water there was a guy's car who, the way he parked it, the left side of the car was pristine. It was beautiful, but the right side was totally rusted out because that side faced the salt water, and
That's
just like
crazy.
a salt spray and air or whatever. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, you don't think about that.
No.
I wonder what state would really not have any rust.
Well, a lot of it, yeah.
Like
I mean,
lower California.
Yeah, Arizona, California. I mean, the Pacific Northwest, they're by the ocean too, so they get it. But yeah, anywhere where it's hot and dry. Colorado is good. Utah, certainly Arizona, New Mexico. Those are the warm, dry, hot, but low humidity states.
Mm-hmm. And rust is pretty quick too on the draw. On my bus, on the front part of my transition from the old part of the bus to the top, the new section. When I was painting it, I taped it off and I left the tape on too long. So when I pulled it, it pulled some of the paint off just on that little strip.
Right.
So I was like, well, I'll get it. Then the winter hit. So I was up putting lights on the other day, and it's rusted there and went under the paint, like below it, the different color. So I got to sand all that down, primer it, and then paint 2 colors on there.
Right.
Just because I didn't touch it over the winter. I should have put something on it.
It snuck in on you.
Yeah. I just seen it the other day. I was putting my bar lights on.
Okay.
Yeah. So you learn.
Yeah.
Around with rust because it will get you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that happens more often than not. It's that's you turn around and I mean I've seen guys would they didn't know and they would do some metal work in the afternoon, and come back later at night and the cars are, the panel rusts immediately. You get flash rust immediately, and it's like that's no joke. But
with the humidity.
Yeah. Well, and it just happens that fast. That's literally how fast that happens. You turn around, it's rusting as you cleaning it. So
yeah,
it's.
They say you got to put something on it right away.
Yeah, you got to have some kind of rust preventative. Yeah, you got to use some kind of primer or something that's gonna, something that's gonna just protect it. And the body shop, the body shop guys are pretty good about that. They know that stuff, but sometimes they screw it up too.
Mm-hmm.
They're not always perfect.
Yeah.
I am.
Let's get the fellas in and see what they're talking about. If they got any rust buckets. Rust buckets.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey Brian.
Hey Ray. This is how you take care of those nice fenders. See, that's what you do with those nice fenders. You just go ahead and
give us some character.
No, I'll just make up a bottle of brine. I'll salt spray them.
I mean, we can take care of it. It's okay. It's nice starting out with good fenders and making them bad.
Well, but it is the point. I'm trying to make. Really good fenders. I mean, really, really good fenders will look so out of place on this car. It'd be ridiculous. It'd be like if I put a set of rusted fenders on my Pontiac. It would look wrong. So,
Yeah.
I never thought I'd say that, but there we go.
Well, we moved from the Rust Belt to Tornado Alley. So here, yesterday we had a tornado that went 60 miles across the county.
Really?
Touched down about a handful of times. It was about 2 miles from my house, the funnel cloud, and it was in my mom's neighborhood.
Wow.
So it's been pretty interesting, never ending here.
Yeah, that'll do it for sure.
So we don't have to worry about rust anymore.
All right.
Nice.
So,
I'll be right with you guys.
all right. Yeah, you, Brian, you got the same problem we have down here. With the rust. Anywhere where there's, when you're not even, you have coastal in your state, but you're not right on the coast.
No, I mean that brine stuff was terrible. I have some stuff out in the tool truck. It's actually a spray, and it deactivates that stuff.
Oh, really?
And it works really good. Guys with snow plows, because they hook that stuff up and they got that stuff sprayed. That stuff gets all over, and that stuff just becomes difficult. A lot of truck drivers use it to keep from rotting out the chrome and all that stuff. You just spray it and it deactivates it or protects. It's made by Flitz stuff, and it's really good stuff. A little expensive, but the cost, it just protects. Unfortunately here, even if we don't get snow, all they got to do is threaten anything, and those guys come out and just dump it, because unfortunately, like with government, if you don't use it, you're going to lose your allocation on money. So they just dump that crap, and it's brutal here. Because once rain activates it, that's like you said, it dries up, and then any kind of moisture it activates, and it's just brutal with rusting.
Yeah, they do the same
eating
thing
stuff
here.
out.
You'll see it like it'll be the day before, and they'll be out there
Yeah.
with the roads are brined.
Yeah, I like when we're like, if we're supposed to get hit on the weekend, they'll start Thursday, and if we get a little bit of a rain, or a little bit of rain, and it starts to wash, and then of course the bottom line is Sunday night we'll get slammed, and of course half the stuff is had gotten washed off from the rain. So like I said, you can't win, but that stuff is brutal. And I was stuck one time behind one of those trucks spraying, and I got home, and the front of the tool truck was just saturated with all the liquid on there.
Yeah.
And got the hose out and washed the old elephant down. So
I'll show you guys what I was talking about. There it is. So this is the frame of the Mustang. You can see it was all been painted like with an undercoat. And when I removed the brake bracket, that's what was underneath it. It's even got like all the flaky stuff down here. Like it just started flaking off immediately.
Yeah.
And that's what's underneath, when you buy the car. You don't see that because the guy didn't take it off when he painted it.
Yeah.
It's that's just the way it is. So it's buyer beware. I mean, that was you know all about that car, right? And that was the eBay car that the guy bought sight unseen, obviously, and it was a total disaster. I mean, it was a half a good restoration, and the other half a total disaster. So my new Mustang guy, I showed him that picture. He's like, "Wow, I wonder if my car's like that." I'm like, "Well, it was down in the south." I said, "They get rust too," but I said, "You had a lot of repair already, and it wasn't undercoated over, so at least you can see what was welded, you can see what was changed. You just happen to, the car was sitting in the mud."
Yeah, hopefully when they weld it stuff on, and like you'll see this on a lot of these cars, especially unfortunately these Mustangs, because what guys were trying to flip them or make money on them. But they'll just lay the new panel down on top of the old panel or underneath, and kind of weld it in or spot weld it or hell JB weld and a few other things, the spray foam, and you see guys just peeling that stuff off because they're not even really
they were watching TV and they thought no prep meant for everything you do.
Yeah.
Because that's what they did. There was no prep. And the same thing with paint jobs. You see plenty of, at a 10-footer, nice looking paint job, and then you walk up to it and man, you see the solvent pops, or you're seeing fish eyes, you're seeing any of the 9,000 problems that could happen with paint, and you're like, yeah, you know what? That's bad. It's great paint, but it was bad prep.
Yeah, I think, a matter of fact, it might have been on what's his name, Kiwi's, one of his that I was watching, where the guy just spot welded the panels in, and that was it, dude. I mean, they cut the panels out, but it was spot welded, and then it was 2 cans of tar base undercoating, and that sealed the line up, and
done deal.
It's really hard. I mean, I don't know how people can live with themselves, knowing what they're doing.
I wonder about that. If it was just that the people weren't trained right and didn't work in the right shops to get the right kind of training, or are they really just that lazy?
Yeah,
it's got to be one or the other. I would imagine, because if you were trained right, you wouldn't be that lazy.
Yeah, and I can't. I don't know. It's just I just can't fathom somebody saying, "Oh yeah, that's okay."
I mean, the other thing is you're working on the other guy's dime, so you're getting paid. So if it takes you a little longer, you're getting paid. It's not like you got to do it for free, or you got to do it on your lunch hour. Yeah. So, it really doesn't make.
Well, when you get into that, of course, they're trying to make money. And we all know when you're restoring a car, you're not really. I mean, you get paid. And sometimes you got to redo something, or you might not get paid. I don't know. It's hard to bill out where you think that you're making money.
It is, and you know what? That's on the shop owner's back. That's a problem. But for the technician, the guy doing the job, if you give me a job, and I know I have to weld in these panels, it's up to me to do. Unless the boss is standing over me with like a shotgun, telling me, weld over the rod.
Yeah. No, well, that's true. And
when you put your hours in, it depends. I mean, it all depends on the relationship with the boss, how you getting paid. Usually they're padding the bill. They're not trying to make it smaller.
Right. And even when you do that, and I've seen that because I have a few shop owners that have no concept of auto repair. Mm-hmm. They just bought into the business, or they got the business, and they're sitting there pushing papers and smiling at the customer and saying, "Oh, whatever," and they hire guys, and some guys will take advantage of that, and their name's not on the building. They do crappy work. They get paid a lot of money. They bitch and cry that they need to make more. The guy's hands tied because he can't go work on a car. He doesn't know anything about it. Yeah. So he ends up paying them more money, or he finally says, "You got to get out of here." Then he doesn't have anybody to work on cars. I mean, it's a tough situation, but
it is.
Unfortunately, but like you said, there are a few places, some body shops that I've gone into, even mechanical ones. We all love sausage, but we don't like seeing it made. And I've walked in on a few shops and kind of took a look and walked right back out because it was kind of scary at the moment, Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that's the end result of some of this car business.
Now, we just had an issue this week at the main body shop. There was a truck over in the shop that I'm at, and it was a big GMC, whatever. It had the rear bumper was off. I said, "What's up with this thing, man?" When those trucks are in the shop, they fill the bay door. Yeah. Oh man, they're huge. So the owner told me, he goes, "Yeah, the guy at the other shop, who's the senior guy, who actually teaches classes. He teaches auto body classes. He did work on that rear bumper, and he had to cut some stuff off. He had to use the torch, but he didn't check like where the wiring was. So he melted everything. And this is the lead guy who teaches auto body classes.
Yeah.
So now it
It's
was back.
amazing how fast that stuff would catch on fire too.
You know, it was back over in my shop because those guys now had to sit and change all of that wiring and the sensors and whatnot. And, you know, and that's at the shop's cost. That's post accident. You can't write that off anymore. That's, you know, the insurance thing already went through.
Yeah.
No. Oops.
Yeah, that is.
You say, "Oh, I'm going to do something real quick," and you pull the torch out before you know it.
Yeah.
Or when you start cutting, you know, like I said, I've seen guys drilling away, and next thing you know, they're going through the second part of the panel, and have have an extra hole that they didn't have before. So
Sure.
You know, anything's possible. You know, unfortunately, and you know, just like you said, using product, you know, some product, when you read about it or when you read how to use it, and you know, people still don't use it right. They don't mix, you know, they don't mix something right, or like you said, prep is the biggest thing. To just slap something on, and hopefully it's going to stick.
Yeah.
And stay bonded, you know.
Well, you know, and someone was telling me a story like that, and I remembered your story about the whose car was it that you worked on?
My cousins with the Sunday paper.
Yeah. And that was something that stuck for quite a while, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I did all, you know. I used the Sunday paper, the Washington Post, you know, which was about, back in the day, was, you know, 8 inches thick. You know, it was the Sunday paper had everything, and
yeah,
I got, of course, I got in trouble. I got my ass kicked because my dad he had one of those. It looked like a planter box, but it rolled newspapers to make paper logs,
right?
And that's what he burned in the fireplace. Right. Well, I was, of course, digging around in the garage trying to find something to mix the fiberglass resin up, and of course, there's that, you know, that box, and it's, you know, it's wide enough for a newspaper. Fit in there, and you rolled it. So I mean, it was perfect. So I mix it all up with fiberglass resin, run the Sunday paper through it in the sheets, and I start laying it out on the car, lay it on the inside, lay it on the outside, sand it down, painted it, looks beautiful. Off she goes, and of course the fiberglass resin's all in there. What does the typical kid do? You know, stick it back on the shelf. I mean,
put it back.
You know, put it back. I don't know nothing about it. And Dad goes to use it, and of course the little hand crank thing is all, you know, bonded and frozen, and there's, you know, 3 inches of fiberglass resin in the bottom of the barrel, and you know, that was another one of those father-son talks, you know. And of course, you know, my cousin was supposed to take it, drop it off, and sell the car, trade it in. But, you know, she loved it. And of course, one thing led to another. She drives it through the winter, and one of those big ice chunks sticks to the quarter panel, you know, behind the rear wheel, and ripped the whole thing out. The weight just pulled it right off the whole quarter that I glued on. So she sticks that right in the trunk and comes over and asks if I can put it back on, you know? So that was fairly interesting.
So here we are talking about sketchy shops, and you got a story about where you did the sketchy work.
Oh yeah, everybody does it, right? I mean, this is, you know, the only thing I guess I could say is I learned from that, right? And
I gotta say,
use construction paper instead of newspaper. No, I'm just joking.
and I think Brian gets a pass because the statute of limitations is passed.
Oh yeah, that was a long time. It was many moons ago.
Yeah, you know, we all did stuff. And there's all stuff in our past that we wouldn't want to that we wouldn't do again and didn't want to talk about. But you know, I've done some pretty sketchy stuff too. But like Brian said, you learn from it, and I mean, some people never do. Some people live their lives like that right to the end. I know guys like that.
In my defense on that, it started out and we've all had customers like this. I just need to get it fixed so that I can trade it in.
Right.
That magical word, because we all go and we all want to screw the dealer. You know what I'm saying? Or that you know, you want to trade it in? Okay, we're gonna patch this thing up and get it. Of course, the problem is you patch it up and man, I like this thing, or I love to drive it, or whatever. Next thing you know, the guy comes back again and says, "Hey, you fixed this once before. Can we do it again?" And it's like, dude, you were supposed to get rid of this.
Yeah.
So another thing that happens is when you don't have money and you have to fudge it.
Right.
That's what you got to do. You know, a couple of my fudge jobs like that came out really nice and it lasted. I got lucky, you know what I mean? But man, when you're broke and you got to go out and pick up the girls, you got to have your car right.
Very true. Yeah. Very true. So listen, before I forget, I want to let you guys know that text that I sent you is real. And it's it came from law enforcement guys. Apparently these Venezuelans are nasty. It's a nasty bunch. And they say they're worse than MS-13 out here, which is pretty frightening. I know they're here. I know they're in other states too. So, and they said they wear jerseys with the number 23 on it, and they have anchor tattoos. I don't know what the significance of the anchor is, but I was telling my daughter tonight at dinner. I said, "Listen, you be careful. If you are driving, you get bumped. Look for a place to pull over where it's brightly lit. Hopefully, there's a cop there." Because that's what they do. They'll bump you, and then they'll go and they'll assess, and they'll rip you off. Either it's either money, jewelry, the car, whatever. They're out for whatever they can get. So,
all right, thanks for sending that.
This is all crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure. I got a feeling it'll hit the news in the next couple of days. But
so, people in the chat room, when you're out driving, stay safe. Leave yourself distance to pull out if somebody bumps you in the back, or you know what I mean. When you're at a stoplight, give yourself room.
I mean, it's already happened over here at the mall. This is that one mall that they mentioned, Roosevelt Field. There's been some shootings there. It's an upscale mall, and a woman a couple of months ago, she was in there with a Range Rover, and she got bumped. And I don't know if it was related to this or not. That's now a couple of months ago. But again, they carjacked the Range Rover. At the time, there was a couple of them that happened, and they were all high-end cars. So I guess it makes sense. Why take a Cavalier if you can get a Jag?
Yeah.
Well, it depends if you're running up and down. It's like my brother car disappeared and came back.
Oh, really?
It disappeared and came back, and the mileage on it, they figured that they went to New York and came to drop something off and bring it back. And, when you got a little shitbox Volkswagen, you want to stay under the radar,
right?
It does, you just need transportation or whatever. But
yeah,
I guess ironically, it left and came back. So, I mean, I guess they had, that was back in the day. What was it? Those Dodge Caravans.
Yeah.
Were real popular for the same thing. You go borrow one and get done with it. And I mean, at least I guess if you really want to be nice, you could put gas back in it. And
that would right. Clean out the McDonald's wrappers,
Yeah. I had a 911 at a dealership one time that disappeared for the weekend and came back, and the customer wanted to know why there was several hundred miles added to the car. So I guess anything's possible these days.
Yeah.
Funny. You would think it'd be really hard to steal cars now with all the satellite or GPS stuff in these cars.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, like OnStar, you can cut it off.
Yeah. And like you said, I was in the shop today. Actually, it was kind of funny. They were talking. It was a Toyota. It was a newer Toyota Corolla, and man, they just beat the hell out of it trying to steal it. And the whole time, the guy's like, even you don't have the chip, so you're not going to be able to start the car.
Right.
It's just, it's just boggled my mind why I spent or try. You think that there's still enough old stuff until our next Cash for Clunkers deal comes out, but or at least look for fresh rust. I mean, a rust bucket, then you can at least start it, right?
Yeah, I guess the money's in the new stuff.
Why steal it?
Yeah.
Got enough rust, the owner might go, thank you.
Right.
Well, those chips and stuff. When I was repoing, I had equipment to get around that stuff. So if man made it, man can get by it.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, there's been stuff on the news where guys actually have chip readers. They'll drive by your garage and they'll see if you left the keys in the garage.
Right.
And if you're close enough, you'll read the chip, you program it, and when the guy goes out with the car, you just go over and start it up and drive off with it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And don't even know.
They stole Christy Lee's Hellcat out of the driveway. Christy Lee's small girl's garage.
Right.
Those Dodges, man, for some reason they're easy to steal.
What they would do with the chip readers is they'd go up to the house at night, figuring a lot of people keep their keys by the door, and that chip reader will read through the wall of the house, and they could, read that code and make the key. So they sold. Who was it that had one? Someone we know has one. They was selling these boxes, like a little lead-lined ornamental box, and they said put it in the house, further in, away from the door, and put your key in that, and this way it can't be read. So,
and I think, well, I mean, I've knowing how some of that stuff is going now, they'll have like a rolling IP number so that it's changing, eventually, because, it's just like everything else. When they first came out, they had never thought in a million years that somebody would come up with the idea of reading a chip and stealing it.
Right.
And even the sad, one of the things, these people that will put in a automatic start, push button start, that what didn't come from the factory. A chip is already in the car because the guy that puts the kit in needs a chip so it reads it. So they take your other key, break it off, and tape it underneath the dash so that it can read it. So your chip's there.
Right. There you go. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that or don't understand that they've opened up a new window. Yeah, it's nice to sit in my house and start my car 10 minutes before I come out, but
they disable security.
You're putting that piece in the car now that it could, if somebody knows what they're doing, they can, they have 90% or half the item.
That's the thing. I was never a fan of the automatic start. I never felt like I had to have it. I mean, I don't mind I'll go out and I start the car. Big deal. Yeah. It's like I never felt like I had to have that luxury. Because really, if you really want to do it right, you got to leave the heat on in the car so that when the heat comes up, you'll have heat.
Right.
So, I shut everything off before I shut the car off anyway. So,
well, you really like this. My wife's caddy, you could do it with your phone. You could turn the heat on, air on, do it all through the phone.
That's good. That's a little different then. Yeah, if you control it.
You could be on an airplane somewhere flying and turn your car on.
So yeah, you got bi-directional control through your phone.
Yeah, pretty slick.
We got the app. Cool. That's a lot of Jenny's is that way too. And like you said, you can. That's they had. I think it was a Buick commercial where the couples were on the beach. They were on vacation on a beach, and they were like, "Did you roll the windows up?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I rolled the windows up." And the birds were all inside the car or whatever, and then he's on the beach rolling and he realizes he rolls the window up or something. But it's modern technology. We either you love it or most of us end up hating it because
when
you
it
can't
breaks,
do
it
what
breaks.
you really want to do.
Lewis, like I was saying, scanners, a lot of the better scanners have bi-directional control, through the ALDL, so the scanner can make the fan come on and off. I've never seen one make the windows go up and down, but
Yeah.
certainly, they can do it. So if the technology is there, it can be used now. You can make an app out of it, which is,
Yeah.
I'm waiting for King Bowl to come out with that one. You just do it off your phone.
Yeah. No, like I said, we have drive cycle. Not drive cycles, but driving. You can move your flaps and your heater box. All that stuff. You got windows. You got releasing gas cap door.
Yeah, parking brake. Yeah, the
parking brake, setting mode.
Steering angle sensors. Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff that that you can use. And like I said, these scanners and the name skipped my mind, and it'll come to me. You got to forgive me on that. I skipped, but to get into these cars, and they have a rolling IP number. It's never the same, and that's part of the security, so that somebody cannot get in or hack.
Right.
And these are things that they're building on, and it does get complicated. It gets complicated for the guy that's just working on the car, because now he has to jump through all these hoops. And, some people say, oh, the manufacturer is going after the little guy, so the little guy can't get in, and, that type of thing. But, and at the end result, it's because of security. Yeah. It's because, they've left that window open, or that door open, where somebody can get in and do something.
Right.
So I wonder who figured out the key. Is it the Kias that they're stealing with phone cords?
Yeah, the Kias. Yes.
I wonder who figured that one out. That was a real boo-boo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said,
that almost went back to technology from the 80s, early 80s, when you could pop off the ring and start it with a screwdriver.
Yeah.
They've came so far from then, and now it's like they went back to it. Like they figured, oh, nobody's gonna figure it out.
Well, the only problem with that, and this is where, at the end of the night or end of the day, or when we get done, it all comes down to what? Money.
Well, yeah.
And they will again say, oh, this is enough, or this is close enough, or however. But at the bottom line, it comes down to money and what they're going to spend, and then of course the bean counters have a percentage. They say, well, if it's only 10% that gets stolen, or 10% gets broken into and start up, we're still ahead because of that number of costs. I'm sure that a little it's like on what they manufacture. They know they have a problem, but if it's only a certain percentage, if that percentage is under what they're still making, man, unfortunately, they're just going to make the money. So,
yeah, that's an interesting comment. That's nice. Someone aftermarket again replied. Yeah, that's good. That's nice.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's the money. It all leads back to money.
It all, like I said, they have a known failure rate or a known issue, and as long as it stays within that, I'm pretty sure that, can't say for a fact, but I'm sure that half of these recalls, some of these recalls, I know for a fact, before it gets out on the public and turns into a recall, they still look at what the percentage is, or they do an in-house thing before it goes. And until somebody gets until the government gets involved or somebody gets hurt. Next thing you know, now there's a recall. And unfortunately, it takes something to happen or a close call or come out and see that your car's on fire in your carport because something happened,
Yeah.
Have you seen those electric cars catching on fire? Man,
Yeah.
Massive burn down.
Oh, yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah, there's no stopping that.
Yeah, once lithium starts burning, you can't put that out.
Yeah.
They had out here, we had a bad storm where a couple of cars were flood damaged, so they everything that was flood damaged, they parked in a lot someplace, and one of them was electric, and they just left it out there. Sure enough, the car ignited on its own.
Yeah.
The water got to the right spot, and battery just went up in flames.
Yeah. Yeah, we had one on, I think it was 95 that burned, and they had to close it down and kind of let it go. It was kind of a mess. Yeah. I still find it mind-boggling when I go out to the Tesla dealership and you see all that stuff just laying around, and you're like, dude, this is like a bomb. Well, you know, like you said, you don't know if it's going to go or not. I was lucky as hell because you can see in my vast thing of my cave here, I could smell something funny, but I just couldn't figure out what the smell was, you know. And of course, you know, I'm like looking around, digging, looking around, and I had it was a Toro weed whacker, electric one, and the battery was sitting on a shelf. I realized it was about 2.5 inches taller than normal.
Wow.
And that thing had swollen up. And when I went to grab it, it had came apart, and then you could see like the white crystal, you know, like how it. And I was like, dude, this thing could have caught on fire. I mean, I'm like, because I didn't have the smell anymore. I don't know if that's what it was. But it was like, holy crap, that, you know, I was just sitting on the shelf over by the garage door, you know, and that's, you know, that's pretty scary knowing that, not having any idea or whatever, but that thing swolled up really big. And once I picked it up and I could pull it apart, and the battery had just like separated, and there was all this white.
You know, I had a fairly expensive jump pack. It was one of the early ones, but it was a name company. I noticed after a couple of years that where the top and the bottom of the case met on the side seam, all of a sudden there was a 1/4 inch gap.
Yeah.
The seam was growing.
Yep.
And, you know, and I wrote to them and said, hey, I got a problem. He said, yes, send that back to us. And now the fact that I mailed it,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean, and then they sent
Well,
me-
that's why you can't mail them no more.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
That's a first question.
yeah, right. Oh yeah,
It's one of
That's
those
funny.
things.
It's
You know,
funny
I
that
thought
you
battery
said
was-
that
the
because
lithium battery.
my laptop, where I put my hands to type, I noticed that I felt something in my laptop, and the battery was swollen in there
wow,
in the laptop, and I took that out and changed the battery,
yeah.
and it had 2 packs, and one of them was swollen up. So I guess, I mean, like I said, you know, I guess it's one of those evils that come with it. But the whole secondary part of that is, you know, putting it in its right place afterwards. You know, the finding out what you're supposed to do with it.
Right.
You know, because it's like, you know, I'm like, well, you just can't chuck it in the trash can. I mean,
No.
and then you have a dumpster fire like in New York the other day or whatever, that one place. I think it was in New York where they had that trash truck that was on fire. They were showing.
I saw one on one of the fails channels that I watch, and the back of the garbage truck just lit up. So what they did is they separated the back of the truck, the hinge part, and they raised it, which let air in.
Right.
Yeah, I think they raised it so they were trying to dump the stuff out onto the street, but it let air in and fueled it. It made the fire even bigger.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh man.
That's like you're not supposed to open the hood, right? When
Right.
you have a That's always a shock there.
Yeah.
The only
I
good
think
thing about if you have a hood fire, a fire like that, it takes care of the rust. So it burns out the rust.
Yeah.
Sure will. So
When
here's
you get
another.
back to the rust, you talk about the poor guy that sends his car off to get it dipped or sandblasted, or
Yeah.
and they think, oh, this ain't too bad, and he comes back and it's a thing of Swiss cheese.
Yeah, half a car.
Half the car's gone, and I know there's been a lot of people have had that where. Now what do you do? Because you allocated or you planned that you were going to spend, 10 grand or 15,000. And now all of a sudden every piece of panel has a hole in it.
It's just like back in the day. I remember, back in the 70s and 80s, radiator would get a leak, or you get a little hole in a tube, and you'd send it out, or the tank would leak, and you send it out, and every single time it's like, oh, dude, we got to put a core in it. I was like, this is some business. Like every radiator needs a core. Like, can't you just repair it? Yeah, it was probably that was the thing. Like, okay.
Yep. Those were the good old days, and you knew right off the bat, dude, you might as well put another radiator in because we send this out, it's going to be a mess. Yeah.
What's up, Coach?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Here is.
Hi, sure.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
That's an oldie. I don't have any new ones. One day.
Open mouth radio.
How you guys doing? Other than lighting everything on fire with bad batteries.
Yeah.
We roll with the punches, man. If it needs lighting on fire, we'll light it on fire.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to get rid of everything today. Just throw the match on it.
Sure.
A gallon of gas on a match will fix anything.
Well, a quart. We don't want to use all that. That gas is still expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Just throw some of those tumbleweed things that you use to light your grill up with, right?
I remember 2 weeks ago I was at a cruise night, and there was a guy there with a 67 GTO. The car was kind of rough. Some of the badges were missing, and it had some rough metal. It was legitimate. It was a true car. So it didn't really hold many secrets. It showed them on its, on its skin. Blue car with and they painted the hood scoop white for some reason. It had a new white convertible top on it. It was the nicest part of the car. And the guy said the car had a 428 in it. And he was going to pull the 428 and put the 400 back in and sell the car. And when me and my friend Kevin were leaving, he had a hard time starting the car. Long crank. And he got it going, and he went to make the turn out of the parking lot. And next thing we see, there he is with the hood open. So I pull up next to him, my car, and we say, hey, what's the matter? You need a hand? Oh, man, I ran out of gas. I think I ran out of gas. It's like, really? Yeah, the gas gauge don't work. All right, we need a hand. You want to get your... No, my friend's coming. He's going to bring me gas. Okay, cool. Last week, the car hits Facebook. He's trying to get like $49,000 for this car.
Wow.
I said, dude.
How much gas did he put in it?
He must have put like an oil tank worth of gas in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, please. I know he said he was selling it. Like ridiculous.
Yeah,
talking about shooting for the moon.
These TV shows and auctions, Barrett Jackson, they make people think their car is worth a lot more than they are.
Yeah, that's always been the case.
Always.
Which is why everybody says Barrett Jackson's ruined the hobby. I don't necessarily agree with that, but
but then again, you see the cars on the first day that go for reasonable money. Great buys on the first day, but some of the guys want that third day car. They want the Sunday car. I know. I was in the bar last month. I got a haircut. And I was talking next to a guy, and he commented on the car book I was reading. So I said to him, "Oh yeah, you're into cars?" Oh yeah, he just got back from Barrett Jackson. It's in Florida, and he usually buys 6 cars at a clip. I was like, oh, you're at that level. He goes, no, man, I'm buying Friday cars. I buy first day cars. He goes, I'm not buying the real super crazy stuff.
Oh, okay.
I said, so what's the significance of 6? He goes, well, I got a guy with a trailer that transports me, and the trailer holds 6.
Yeah.
He goes, so I want to give him a full load every time. I was like, okay.
Oh, must be nice.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, so he was buying the cars that were the lesser, and then he'll get some home, he figures them out, and some he'll get rid of, and, he plays the game. Some will go back to the auction, whatever, whatnot. But, he was a player at that, well, 6 cars. I mean, he could still be dumping easy 70, 80 grand.
Yeah, you can still be dumping close, even close to 100, right? I
On
mean,
shit cars, yeah.
It's for 6 cars.
I'm at least you get some that are really. Some of them do go for low money. So he's got the guy owns a bus company in Suffolk. Like, oh, nice business. Guess the bus business is
Because
good.
even at 100 grand, 6 cars is 16,000 a piece.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's got well, I guess maybe he's figuring all his fees inclusive. Plus, he's got the the shipping. He's got the truck.
And I guess if he gets one that's halfway decent and can unload it, or those guys, I gotta give those guys. I mean, the guys like that have stuck around. I got a couple buddies that are car guys that are always going to the auction and buying cars, but they're hustling, man. They got a Rolodex. They got people that are looking for cars. They got contacts. They got people that know that are looking for something, and if they can get it, and most of the time people want to score a big money on it, and the idea really is if you're making a couple thousand on it or even a couple hundred on it, you're ahead of the game. You just got to keep them moving.
Yeah,
you can't let them sit around, because next thing you know, you got a backyard full of them, or you got them spread all over the county because you're not a dealer and you can't have all these cars sitting around with no tags on it. So you got them parked all over the place.
Yep.
You guys were talking about rust buckets. So out here, the most you get is usually surface rust, unless the car's been sitting, with no wheels on it, and it's just frame on or chassis on the.
You guys are lucky. You are lucky that way.
Now, the one thing you do have to watch out for is flood
Scorpions.
damage. Well, scorpions and rattlesnakes for sure, but flood damage. So if you're looking at anything that's quote unquote been on the road, and you're looking for something that, not necessarily an old muscle car, but something like a pickup truck or something, when we get the flash flooding out here, people will drive into the wash and not realize how deep it is and get washed away, and you get cars that have flood damage. In fact, right at the end of the last summer, I went to the junkyard and I found a Honda Accord like mine. I'm like, oh, good. Let me see what I can pull off. Oh, and it's a manual. Oh, this is really good. So I get the door open and I start, and right as I get to the floorboard, I'm like, there's a lot of sand on here. And I pull the carpet back and there's a layer of sand. It was a flood car.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So.
No, that's one of the things I learned with the inspection thing, where they to check for it, and they say look in places like open open a console, and look in the console for a witness mark for a stain, and carpets and seats and things like that. Look under the seat and see if you really see a lot of rust on the metal and switches and all. Places that people typically don't clean, like even in the mat pockets in the doors.
Yeah,
look in there, even though they're plastic. A lot of times there'll be a witness mark. You'll see like a dead fish or something.
Yeah.
Be surprised.
So there's a comment in the comment about Dubai cars when they break down, they leave them on the side of the road.
Leave them right.
Yeah, it is true. I'm gonna put it up, but it is true. I was working with a guy.
Yeah.
From Dubai, and I asked him that same question. So I was I was going to book some celebrities over there just before COVID, and COVID jacked us. But and I'd asked that question when I was talking to him. I was like, "Is that true?" He goes, "Yeah, they'll leave them. It'd be Mercedes, Ferrari, Lamborghini.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
they're like over there. They're like Volkswagens.
Well, they run out of gas, so they just get out and take their,
Not that you leave a Volkswagen here, but you know what I mean."
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
Well, with all that crazy flooding in Dubai, now they're flood cars too.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Water is tricky, boy, to fix too. You get in the
Yeah.
wires and computer and
Oh,
dashboard
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, I'm sure up in northern Arizona where it snows more, you got to be careful. But you'll find a lot of old cars up there. There's Sholo, Arizona. Where was that? The guys that do the they work with the school and they do a car in a week or whatever. Paul went and worked with them.
Oh,
Wrenching for the future.
Yeah. They were when we had them on last year, I think it was, they were talking about Arizona, and I can't think of the town name, but it's not far from Sholo. And same thing up there, up in that area, you'll find a lot of old cars. Now those, it's probably hit and miss as far as the rust damage, cancerous rust. Of course, sitting in a field, it's probably got rust, but as far as cancerous, it depends on the last time they drove in the snow, which was probably quite a long time ago. So there's probably not much, if at all, real bad cancerous rust. But I remember when we used to go up in that area and go camping and fishing when I was a kid. We'd go through those towns and my dad would see a yard sale and we'd have to stop at every yard sale. And I'm like, let's get to the lake. I don't want a yard sale. But you'd see, you'd pull up and there'd be a handful of cars back there from the 50s and stuff.
Yeah, one of my buddies, he retired and he's camping around the country.
Mm-hmm.
He was somewhere out west, and he sent me a picture of a lot that had a whole bunch of old schools, like you said, 40s, 50s,
Yep,
60s. And he said nobody was around. He couldn't get any information. They wasn't for sale. They're just sitting in the lot.
Yeah. There's a not too far from me, out in Marana, which Marana is part of the metro area of Tucson. When we head over to my brother-in-law's house, we drive past this property. It's probably a couple acres. They got like a barn, like they turned into a shop, and but the guy's got a bunch of cars on there, a bunch of old cars in there. Every time we go by on the way there, my wife goes, "Don't look, we can't stop. It's Easter, we're late." And by the time we leave coming home, it's dark, and I slow down, and she goes, "It's too dark, can't see nothing, keep driving."
Okay, so you got to get smarter than the wife. This is what you got to do. You got to say the party is an hour earlier, so she'll be ready to go. Jump in the car, take off. It's like, gotcha. Pull in.
Yeah.
He did get smarter because now he can drive by and say, "Don't worry, hon, I got those new headlights. Now I can see in the dark."
Yeah. Exactly.
But it is amazing, though, on some of that older stuff, how long it takes for it to deteriorate. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the type of metal or the steel or whatever was used, because there was a place up in Cave Town that I used to get the parts for the Scout. Now, this is all the way up in between in that little part of the panhandle of Maryland, in between Pennsylvania and West Virginia. You're a stone throw. I mean, you step over, you're in Pennsylvania. You step this way, you're in West Virginia. And it was that was actually our first date. I picked Jenny up and she comes out and she's like a little too dolled up. And I said, you might want to dumb it down a little and get some clothes on that you can get dirty in. And she's like, where are we going? And I said, don't worry. And of course I throw the top off the Scout and we drive off into the sunset and we go to a junkyard. She should have known right then and there she was in trouble.
Yeah.
But the one thing about that junkyard, it had been around forever and ever and ever. And the cars that sat out there, like I said, I mean, they got snowed on, rained on, sun beaten, but they, you know, like I said, the metal was just completely different. But one of the neat things about that place, they had snow removal stuff from West Virginia, and they were old military half tracks.
Oh, cool.
And that was really cool running around, climbing on that stuff. They were all painted like bright yellow or that yellow DOT color. But that was really interesting.
I mean, I'll tell you this. I have a Ford straight front axle and that Dodge Challenger K-frame and brake assembly sitting in my driveway. And they've been sitting out there for years. And they don't look any different now than they did 20 years ago. They just hit like a level of rust and it just stayed there. Now, when you see cars that you drive, they get that real flaky rust and the chassis will rust right through. But I think when you just leave it outside, it just hits it's like homeostasis. It hits a level and just stays there.
Yeah, I have a Subaru subframe. Same thing. It's been sitting out underneath the porch. And it's still, I'm waiting to pick it up and just disintegrate it into the ground.
Is that under the 944? Is that under the 944 or under a different porch?
Oh, the deck in the backyard.
Oh. Sorry.
Yeah. So,
I'll have to get my kid out again.
That's right. Lay your tires on your seat cover.
My 77, when I was changing the fuel tank under it, whoever bought it, I guess they got it undercoated when they bought it, and it's so clean under that car. I mean, it's worth getting it undercoated.
You know, even the Fiat that I have, the guy was so obsessive when he bought it. He bought the dealer installed AC and he had him do the undercoating, and the car sat for 7 years outside. And I swear it was the undercoat that there was a little bit of rust, but it's what really saved that car.
Yeah. And that used to be a ritual. Like my dad, man, he was strong on it. As soon as he buy a car, he'd take it straight and get it done.
Rusty Jones.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or that was the haggling point
right.
over when you're getting ready to sign, because my dad, when we bought our 76 Buick LeSabre, the last of the 4-door big cars, man, that was a hell of a car, man. And hours and hours beating the guy up over the price, and everybody be pissed off because it comes down to undercoating or not undercoating or partial or this or that, and beating the guys up. Good old days.
That's when you could order a car.
Yeah.
If you want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Das Boat. That was the Gray Ghost, man. That thing was silver, but of course, that was 76, and it was last of the big cars. But that's GM's era of paint issues,
right?
And or start of them. Of course, all the pigment came out of it, so it was just like a flat gray.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That was I'd take that car. My old man would be so mad because I'd take and flip the air cleaner on it and go drive around, and it had a 305 in it, and that poor thing dragging that car around, we beat the hell out of it. But I'd forget to flip it back, so he'd leave the house at 3:30 in the morning and go down the street and hear the bogging of it and be all pissed off because he'd stop down and flip it back around. I tell you, I gotta say a special prayer to Dad, because I gave that guy a I'm surprised I'm still alive.
Yeah.
I think that's a teenage kid thing because I think we've all done it.
Yeah. Of course, my dad would be, he had his little notebook with the mileage, write down, and of course I'd bring the car back with no fuel in it or no gas in it.
Yep.
And I had it on the weekends, and of course he needed it for Monday morning, and he'd look at his little mileage thing and he'd say, how in the world can you he goes, what state did you go to? And I was like, I never left, Olney or, never left Montgomery County, never left the county. And he goes, how in the world, where did you go to put, 300 and whatever miles on a car,
Around the block.
on a weekend.
Every time we went around the block, it was a different girl. So I had to keep
it was, like I said,
I had to go back around.
all over the place. Yeah. That was, like I said, those were the good old days.
Every time you go around the corner and there's a new girl, you did a Cheech and Chong. You went, ooh, what's that?
Drive around and going from one place to another, but those were the good old days.
Yeah.
What's Ray pulling out?
Uh-oh. I thought you were pulling out a 76 Buick.
No, I don't have it scanned, but I just saw the picture the other day. So I got to show it to you. Did the engine swap on my Monte Carlo years ago from a small to a big block, and I wanted it to look like it was factory installed. And
What year, Monty?
73.
Nice body. I love that. I like that body.
Yeah.
That just had the one round headlight.
Right.
And then it had the turn single round light on the bottom or on the side of it.
No, they were on the peaks of the fenders, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But turn that fucking light off. But there's the engine shot.
Oh yeah.
With the air, you can just about see that the air cleaner is turned upside down.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
There it is. Air cleaner upside down. Yeah. Need better light. Yeah.
All right, guys, time for me to bail.
Take care, Jim.
All right, Jimmy.
Have a good week.
You're going to bail. Come on now.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Hey, you gotta be an adult, right?
Gotta go.
Gotta go.
Yeah.
Gotta,
I'm gonna jump
Hey,
ship
Mom.
too because my wife indicated on the text message that there's a spider in the bedroom.
Oh, yeah. I get
Oh.
that too.
Ah,
Oh,
Yeah, that's what they call it now. Wink, wink. Okay, easy on the spider, all right?
go get that spider.
Now, believe me, she told me to come home from Vegas one time to kill a spider.
Uh-huh.
So if I don't go, I'm gonna be sleeping out here in the shed.
Yeah.
All right,
All
Lord.
right, Lewis.
All right, so you guys have a good week, and don't forget to go check out PowerTube TV because we got all our friends are on there now. Like a lot of people that's been on the shows on there, and a lot of our other friends. So go check it out, and subscribe, leave a comment, the good stuff.
Take care, Lewis. Have a good week.
Watch out for Venezuelans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Carrying the number 23. All
Thanks
right,
for bringing me in, guys. I'm sorry I've ignored you all night long, but I'm going to be calling it a night too and heading back.
Right. We were ignoring you too.
I'm sorry to hear about the storms that came through the Mid-Atlantic. I hope everyone had minimal damage. I was hearing some pretty bad stuff.
Oh, yeah. We got from Poolsville all the way out to Columbia. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I saw that on the news. It looked pretty bad.
Yeah. Gaithersburg got it pretty good. Poolsville got it real good. Luckily, Olney wasn't too bad, but the funnel cloud was over top.
Wow.
So pretty.
The climate is altering. I'm not going to say we got climate change. I'm not going to get into any of that. But what used to grow really good, like Georgia peaches, now grow really well in Virginia and Southern Maryland.
Yeah.
So the vegetation has changed and the weather patterns have changed. Hope you guys sort of have a decent uneventful hurricane tropical storm season this year. It's been a while since one went up the middle of the Chesapeake Bay. You're about due.
I hope not.
The storm surge does more damage than anything else I've seen in my past.
Yeah. It's
I don't know.
fun.
I don't know about climate change here. It's still hot. It was 107 today.
Damn.
It's 100 degrees right now.
My God.
7 p.m. at night, or well,
Oh my God.
Sun's going down, but it's 100 degrees now, and it was 107 today.
Well,
which means Phoenix was probably 112 or 115.
I'm sorry. Go on, Ray.
I'm sitting at 71 degrees outside and 75 in.
Yeah.
Sounds like you need to open a window and turn on the attic fan.
No, actually, I do. You know what? I'm in the basement, so I did open the window, which lets some of the humid air in, and that's what raised the temperature because it was cooler down here before. Yeah.
And I guess it was he's probably hitting close to 100 degrees in the sun in Dallas where I was today.
Wow.
But coming home, when I went to go across the bridge where traffic always comes to a crawl for about 15 minutes for no absolute reason other than it's a bridge. It's like the Woodrow Wilson. It's like no problems, but it takes 15 minutes to cross at any time of day. Right then and there is when my ACs decided to stop blowing from the upper 60s, which I guess isn't too bad if it's blowing upper 60s and it's upper 90s outside.
Right.
But all of a sudden it stops blowing upper 60s. And then it stops blowing upper 70s. Then it stops blowing anything except for ambient air.
Yeah.
And all that glass in that car, it just started getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And
Which car is that, Paul?
My Honda Fit, you know.
Oh, okay.
That thing's been the most badass car I've ever owned. 302,000 on it now.
Wow. Good.
It's good.
And I just got a new Honda oil filter. The car has always had its oil changes with a Honda oil filter. And it's always been done between 3,000 and 8,000 miles, with the exception of twice where it went to 10,000 miles.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I gotta say, I think the best AC I in the house that I have is in the FJ. That thing really kicks it, man.
Yeah.
But then again, because the sides are flat and the windows are short and the front windshield is like a Model A, it's kind of vertical. You know, you don't get the sun coming in. It always has to come in at a right angle, which it rarely does.
Right.
So really,
that's the problem with the tool truck. It's like one big fishbowl. Right, man. Trying to keep it cold or cool, and that is just a pain in the butt.
You know, when I had my minivan, I had one of those old Silhouettes, the Dustbuster.
Oh yeah,
and that thing had a huge angled windshield, and it was hot.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm calling it a night. We'll talk to you.
Okay, Paul, take it easy.
Paul.
Take care, Paul.
Yep.
All right. I guess we'll exit the live ourselves. So for Lewis Lee, Ray Guarino, Matt Coman, Brian, and Coach Isaac, saying good night, and we'll be back next week, same time, same channel. Talk about more stuff. See ya.
Take care.
Boing.
Like this show? Want more? Then head to WatchPTTV.com, the new 100% free PowerTube TV streaming network. Home of the best classic and new motorsports racing and build shows on the web.